Chapter 1. Pain. The opera ghost wept with the desolation one might expect of a spectre, but the crashing and splintering of the effects surrounding him was caused by the man. Eric, the devastated man. Even as tears coursed unnoticed down his sunken, pale cheeks, sound roared from his powerful throat, giving good credit to the terrible wailing of a wounded soul. "Christine! Christine!" Echoes of his cries through the underground caverns of the Paris Opera House returned as the sound of ghosts sobbing with him. Christine was gone. His wife-to-be had left in the arms of another. But he had to let her go. His love for her demanded it. "Christine!" As he roared, he gripped the edge of the table, shaking the delicate crystals of the small tabletop candelabra. The tinkling of the crystal, usually such a merry sound, now came to his ears as a sad, pathetic noise. Eric moved to the bed and sat amidst the tatters of the thick, tasseled velvet drapes. For some time he stayed there, broken glass pressing into the palm of his bone-thin white hand, letting the pain ooze out with the blood of his several gashes. His breathing was the loud wheeze of a breathless, voiceless accordion. With sunken eyelids squeezed closed over tortured eyes, he remembered Christine, his Christine, pressing her face toward his forehead. He felt her soft, warm lips against his parchment skin. One thin white hand moved to his deformed face above his closed eyes. In his mind, he heard her voice. Poor, unhappy Eric. She cared. Surely she cared. She had loved him for himself, he was sure of it. She would have come, in time, to accept his vile visage as she had already accepted him into her heart. It was that dandified blackguard Raoul who had poisoned her heart against him. Raoul, who cared nothing for the precious flower, the unique and perfect angel that was Christine. Raoul, who cared for nothing but to collect her as a bauble. Eric cut off the howl that escaped him and cocked his head to listen, certain he'd heard something, certain suddenly his Christine was returning. Had she called to him? Had he heard her sweet voice saying his name? He stood, quiet, poised in the still attitude of statuary, not daring to breathe, waiting to hear his name from her lips. No sound came to his ears, though he stood for minutes, frozen, silent. Silent, for the first time since Raoul had taken Christine's hand and pulled her from the room. Again Christine's voice came to him, this time only in memory, sighing over the space between them. "Thank you, Eric." As she was pulled from his sight, eyes wet, eyes focused without fear on Eric's unmasked face. "Thank you, Eric." So sweet, so sad. Surely she cared. Although he strained to hear her return, the sound of the voice he had heard through his bellow, her voice calling his name, he heard nothing, no movement, no whispered name. "I'm going mad," he said. "Now it is I, the opera ghost, who am hearing voices." The irony burst from him in rich laughter, which rang and danced through the underground caverns. He was only able to stop the laughter when he heard its tones rising toward hysteria. Lowering himself again to the bedstead upon which Christine had passed her nights in his home, he sat, observing the devastation. His sanctuary, his home, his peace, destroyed by love. Thus did Eric pass his first night. For all the strength in his limbs, he was powerless against the waves of emotion that crashed through him. Christine. Spent, weak, beyond exhaustion, he crooned gently swelling songs of his love. Finally, he slept amidst the debris upon the bed that still smelled so wonderfully of his Christine. He dreamt the lustrous tones of the wedding mass, dreamt forlornly of his bride and her monster.